What would a character with 20 charisma look like? Today we're going to break down the stat, talk about what situations might call for a charisma roll, and I'm going to make my case for Batman being the ultimate representation of charisma as a whole. But before we can figure out which character has the highest riz, we have to start with the basics. What is charisma? Charisma is one of the 6 ability scores in Baldur's Gate 3 and Dungeons & Dragons. It is also one of the most difficult stats to actually define because it covers a lot more things than many people realize. In the 5th edition Player's Handbook, charisma is defined as your ability to interact effectively with others. It includes such factors as confidence and eloquence, and it can represent a charming or commanding personality. The main roles you will be making for charisma will be deception, intimidation, performance, and persuasion. Deception is defined as your ability to convincingly hide the truth, either verbally or through your actions. This could refer to misleading a person or outright lying to them. So, if you're telling half-truths or tall tales, you're making deception checks. Intimidation is your ability to influence somebody else by using threats, hostile actions, and physical violence. If you're interrogating prisoners, convincing thugs they'd be better off messing with someone else, or holding a weapon to somebody's throat, you are making an intimidation roll. Performance is how well you can keep an audience entertained, whether through music, singing, dancing, or any other performative talents you may have. I'm just going to go ahead and leave this clip here. Hold on to this for me. And lastly, persuasion is your ability to influence people with tact, social graces, or good nature. So basically, any kind of convincing you might do that doesn't involve lying or making threats, those would fall under persuasion. Ladies and gents, make sure you say please. So as we can see from the definition and related skill checks, charisma isn't just a character's ability to talk their way into your pants. Even though that also is a charisma-related role. You could have a very stern and serious character who commands respect the instant they walk into the room, never jokes around, and doesn't make a habit of lying, but because of their intimidation, they could still be a fine representation of charisma. This is the part that a lot of people get hung up on. Charisma covers such a wide range of different roles and bonuses that you could easily have an entire charisma-based party and still have each character be drastically different than the others. Paladins and warlocks both use charisma to cast their spells, but they both do this in very different ways and draw their magic from very different sources. Unless you wanted to tell a story about a Lockadin who gets all their magic from one source or something like that, and actually that sounds pretty badass. Since we know that charisma comes in many different forms, let's take a look at some creatures from the monster manual with very high and very low charisma values. This way we'll have a better understanding of what the low end and high end of that scale might look like. At the extreme low end of charisma, we will find creatures such as golems and animated weapons. These things have no actual personality of their own. They simply follow the will of their creator or master, obeying their commands loyally and without hesitation. They don't have any kind of personality that they're trying to exert. They are simply a tool of somebody else. If we look towards the other end of the scale, at creatures with close to 20 charisma, we will find the Kraken, multiple different dragons of varying power levels, Deva and Succubi, and other very dangerous creatures with personalities and personal will so strong that they can be used to cast terrible and destructive magic or to bend others' will to their own. And looking even further past that to the absolute limits of charisma, We will find ridiculously powerful celestial beings such as the Solar and Zariel herself. These beings are often found leading massive armies and commanding huge amounts of respect and fear from any creatures in their vicinity. When one of these guys or gals is in the room, you will pay attention. You will show respect, or you will be dealt with harshly. There is no negotiation with a being like this. Their personality and will is absolute and unwavering. We know from the player's handbook that a normal average person would have around 10 or 11 in every stat or close to it. A person with very low levels of charisma would likely never be in charge of almost any situation. This is someone who might be really strong. They might be a powerful member of your group, but they're not standing in front of a conversation, putting themselves out there. They're not exerting their personality on other people. They're just part of the group. They might be so timid or shy that they can't even hold a conversation at all, much less successfully lie to somebody who actually knows how to spot a lie. On the flip side, a very high charisma individual might be a famous comedian or performer, a military general, or any number of different positions where having a strong personality might come in handy. Management, leadership roles, or they can be the comic relief of the group, like you often see a lot of bards doing in different media. That is another representation of charisma. Being the person who can make your party laugh when everybody's ready to scream and cry, that's powerful. Various characters in media are excellent representations of charisma as a whole, or at least parts of it, from Luffy's Conqueror's Hockey to the irresistible charms of Captain Jack Sparrow. Characters make performance or persuasion checks when they give their team an inspiring speech, or yell out their famous catchphrase in an effort to boost morale. And of course, you'll always find a bard mixed in a group somewhere singing songs and stealing hearts, like I just said. But as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, and as the thumbnail has so obviously pointed out, I've personally chosen Batman to represent charisma as a whole. Let's take a look at why. We know that persuasion, intimidation, deception, and performance are the main charisma-related roles. So now let's take a look at some instances where Batman displays mastery of each and see if I can persuade you or deceive you into agreeing with me. And if not, I'll just break your kneecaps, and it's going to be kind of hard for you to walk without those. So, obviously a joke. FBI, please stop calling me. Stop showing up at my house. Batman is intimidating. He is 6 foot 2 inches tall, 188 centimeters. And is usually represented at around 210 to 220 pounds or 95 kg of solid freaking muscle. Human physical perfection. Now imagine that 6'2", 220-pound monster dressed in a suit that was specifically designed to be scary at nighttime. And he just silently appeared behind you in the middle of the night while you were out performing crimes. You are definitely going to be needing a new pair of shorts after this. Batman routinely dangles people off of buildings, actually drops them, catches them, and then yells orders at them as a form of interrogation. I know everybody likes to think that they're Billy Badass, but if some freaking guy swooped down out of nowhere, grabbed you in his arms, and just dangled you over the side of a building with his pure strength, most people are going to cave. Most people are going to be crying like a baby when that happens, because this is a psycho. What is going on? How is this guy this freaking fast and strong? I didn't even see him. Where the hell did he come from? And now my ass is dangling off the side of a skyscraper. What the F is going on right now? That is intimidation. You don't know what is even going on. You're so scared, you're just like, oh my God, you can't figure it out. And this dude's screaming in your face, making your brain focus on just his questions. So he's going to get his answers. Batman's favorite activity is beating up street thugs and supervillains using advanced technology and literal ninja tactics to gain the upper hand, often resulting in a big old pile of completely broken and bloodied bad guys. He's not going to kill you, but he will break all of your damn bones and make you wish that he did. And everybody there knows it. They know that he's willing to break your arms and legs. They have buddies who are in the hospital right now who got theirs broken last night from Batman beating their ass up. So this dude can definitely walk the walk, and the few criminals who ever do run into him tell tall tales about his horrific visage and superhuman feats. They spread his legend far and wide, and the other criminals of Gotham are afraid of the shadows and dark alleyways of the city where they would normally be the predators. When the Bat could be in any of those shadows, you can't help but constantly feel like you're prey. And Batman knows this. He set this up on purpose. He knows human psychology and criminal behavior so well that he is able to make perfect use of this fear. His ninja training and gadgets allow him to add a performative flair to his crime fighting and to intensify the fear and paranoia his targets are feeling to a much higher degree, which obviously causes them to make mistakes in combat, slip up and say things they shouldn't, and gets Batman closer to his goals. Batman will use chemicals, smoke, and flashbangs to disorient a room full of thugs and then begin picking them off one by one from the shadows. Or sometimes he just drops right into the middle and starts giving them the old flurry of blows, whatever he's feeling like doing that day. For some other good examples of performance, but also of deception and persuasion, let's take a look at Batman's super secret, super hidden alter ego, Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne is a world-famous billionaire in the DC Comics universe. Just imagine if Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or Mark Zuckerberg were secretly Batman in their free time. Imagine these dudes gliding around the city at night and beating criminals halfway to death. We would know it was them by lunchtime today if this was the case. There is no way to hide your identity in a situation like that. Bruce will also use his money to negotiate with other very large corporations in the world, and he'll blow it on taking a bunch of ballerinas out on a yacht just to make a few headlines. His massive amount of wealth is another tool he will make full use of in pursuit of whatever deceptive or persuasive needs he currently has. Because of his absolute insane levels of charisma, Batman is the leader of the Justice League when it comes to issuing commands and dividing their forces strategically. Being a literal super genius definitely helps with this, but there are other members of the League who also have insane levels of intelligence, and they too defer to Batman's commands out of sheer respect for his skills and training. When it comes to strategy, Batman is pretty much the best they have. Charisma isn't really something we can measure with a number in real life, so it's tough to gauge how much someone would have in any given scenario. So the reason why I've chosen Batman to represent charisma as a stat is because this dude lives and breathes his secret identity. But unlike some of these other heroes whose alter ego is basically like, okay, don't pay any attention to this guy. This is nothing to see here. This is just Johnny, regular, normal dude. And then it's freaking Superman at nighttime. Batman is in the spotlight all of the time. There are multiple times in the comics and in shows too, where he sets up situations where people will see Bruce Wayne and Batman in the room at the same time, so that those people will spread the story that they saw both of them, or he'll have it recorded on camera that Batman saved Bruce Wayne from something by having someone else act as Batman, or whatever the case may be. All I'm saying is that this dude is basically a master manipulator of all kinds, even physical. He'll manipulate your body into a shape you didn't know was possible. I've also mentioned a couple of other characters. Other people in the comments have brought up, Luffy, obviously, with Conqueror's Haki, Captain Jack Sparrow, Optimus Prime, Captain America. All of these characters definitely are fantastic representations of charisma as a stat. But I wanted to stick with the Marvel and DC Universe setup that I've done with all the rest of the videos in the series. And Batman is pretty much the perfect character. To be fair, Batman would fit with pretty much any of the stats. He's got like 20s plus across the board. So it's easy to use him as a representation for any character. But for Dex and intelligence and charisma especially, I'm going to go ahead and say Batman. Let us know down in the comments what you think. How well did I break it down? Do you agree with me on whether or not Batman should be the representation of charisma? And if not, who do you think should be here instead? Feel free to come join us on the Discord if you want to nerd out about other things like this or various other gaming or comic book related topics. And as always, travelers, I am glad you got to see me. Do your best to stay alive out there. Until next time, see ya.